these are gonna be my actors for this demo. I have a primary or a source storage account and a primary Synapse, both living in East US. And I also have their two counterparts, a destination storage account and a secondary Synapse, both living in West US. So let's go ahead and take a look first at my source demo storage account. We can see that it is a hierarchy namespace. When I look inside containers, I can see that I have this data container which has these two directories, Parquet and raw. Parquet is currently empty, although I am planning to output a Parquet file into it in a little bit. So meanwhile, I'm going to go inside the raw container and I am going to upload this CSV file, which is just some random data for me to process and transform and project into a database using Spark code in a bit. So for the time being, I'm gonna go ahead and upload this file. And click upload, and then over here, I'll make sure that its data matches what I have in my CSV, which it does. Good. Okay, so having done that, now I am gonna go inside my primary Synapse. Let's go ahead and open that up. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a brand new pipeline. So I'm gonna go into integrate, new pipeline. Let's call this uh, source pipeline. And under move and transform, I'm going to drag and drop a copy data. Let's call this source transform. Inside source, I'm gonna click new. I'm gonna select Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. And since I'm working with a CSV file in here, I'm gonna select on CSV, click continue. I'll click select the link service, and then under file path, I am gonna go ahead and navigate to that CSV input file, which is right here. I'll select first row as header, click OK. And in here, when I preview the data, I can see that it matches what I have now on my pipeline. It matches my input CSV file, which is good. I'm gonna go into the sync tab, um, click new. Also gonna select Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Only this time I'm gonna select Parquet. Click continue, select the same link service, and under file path, I'm only going to select the Parquet directory. Okay, click OK on that, and then over here, I clicked open, and under file path here, I want to call my output Parquet file source.parquet. I'm gonna go into my mapping tab. I'll click on import schemas, and right here we can see that everything is of a type string. Um, but only my first column is a string, everything else is an integer. So I'm gonna go ahead and change everything up except for the team. I'm gonna leave that as a string, but everything else I'm gonna turn. And on that, I'm gonna go ahead and click on debug. And what I care about right here is under this status column. So I'm gonna refresh that a couple of times. Okay, so after it shows status succeeded, I can go back into my um, source storage account, go back into containers, into that Parquet file, and I can see that it created that source Parquet output file. So I'm gonna now go back into Synapse, going to data, I'm gonna create a new lake database. Let's call this source DB. And I'm gonna add a new table. Let's call this source table. Select the same link service, and then over here, I'm going to select that Parquet file that we just generated. Oops. So I'm gonna go into, there we go. Click continue. Click create, and here I can see that I have created this source table with the headers and the same as my CSV file, and the types also match. I can also go inside the columns. At this point, I could run SQL queries, so on and so forth. But for the purpose of this demo, I also want to show data replication, so I'm not gonna be focusing much on running queries or anything like that. But instead, I'm gonna go into my destination storage account. And as I mentioned earlier, this one lives in West US. It's also a hierarchy namespace. And if I go inside containers, I can see that I also have a data container in here, but this one is completely empty. So what I'm gonna do for this is I'm gonna go ahead and open up a bash terminal, and I'm gonna perform this command right here. So I'm gonna do an az copy my source storage account, my destination storage account, and then dash dash recursive. So what I'm planning to do is copy the contents of that data container from source into destination. So from here, from my source storage account into destination, I want to copy that container, that data container. So I have that command preloaded. We can see right here is az copy source demo first. Right here we can see that I am pointing to that data container. And my second parameter is a destination. Over here we can see that I'm also pointing to that data container. And I'm gonna be doing this recursively. So when I run this command, and it finishes running, if I go up here and I refresh my blobs, I can see that both directories have been copied. So if I go inside raw, I can see that the CSV file was copied, and if I go into Parquet, I can see that the same thing, the Parquet contents were copied as well. So now that I have done this, I can go into my secondary Synapse, and in here I can do the same procedure, and I'm not gonna go into the same procedure as in detail, but I want to show you that I can select that input CSV file and also have it display on my secondary Synapse as well after doing that AZ copy. So here I'm gonna create a pipeline. Let's call this one destination pipeline. And I'm also gonna do that copy data. Um, Under source, I'm gonna select my CSV file. Only this time I'm pointing to my CSV file on my secondary. And to prove that, let's go ahead and change this to secondary raw. This is my, oh no, this is my source. I want to do that on the destination. So this is my destination. So let's rename here to destination raw. Let's just name it that. So we can see that the name has been changed. So um, when I go into my secondary Synapse and I select Azure Data Lake, and I select CSV, let me select my link service, and then over here when I try to, we can see right here that it is my modified raw directory. So this CSV is indeed the one that we copied over. I'm gonna select first rows header, click OK. And when I preview my data, we can see that it matches the CSV file that we imported over from primary. And I can also perform the same procedure to create the tables, so on and so forth, but I feel like that's a little bit beyond the scope of this demo. What I wanted to demonstrate is that we can import data into a hierarchy storage account, process that, generate a parquet, create a table, and then we can copy all of that into a secondary. And utilizing a secondary Synapse, we can also process that. So that's pretty much it for this demo.